All right, so this is gonna be a how-to lay out and cut a hip rafter, okay? Some things to note is that this hip rafter is coming in at a 45-degree angle, okay? The theoretical is what our calculator is gonna give us, and it's gonna be right to the center of the ridge, just like this, okay? So keep note that we have to shorten, since this hip rafter can't physically be in the center, we're gonna have to shorten it half the diagonal thickness of this ridge. Okay, so let's walk over here to our hip. According to what our plans show, we're gonna be using a 2x6 for our hip, okay? All right, first off, we're gonna find the center of our hip. It's gonna be right here. We got 1.5 inches, so I'm marking 3/4 of an inch, right like that. From this point, since it goes right into the corner at a 45, I'm gonna mark 45 degrees on each side. Right like, so be right here, rolling over the edge, right there. Okay, my pitch, the 7-inch pitch. So I'm not using the common since we've got a hip. We're jumping now over here to the hip. I'm using a 7 straight down, nice sharp pencil, right like that. Before I leave this position, because we have to shorten it by half the diagonal thickness, in this case, we're gonna shorten it by 1 1/16 of an inch. Right, square on this side, not measuring down on the slope. It's a horizontal measurement. Okay, again with our pitch of 7, right like that. Back up to the top. Like that. Rolling it back over. Plumbing this side down. Right here, and we got a hip valley, 7. Like that. And then shorten this side by 1 1/16. Hip valley. Like this. Right like that. Okay. This will be my cut edge. This is my measurement. So this is my theoretical. So using our Construction Master calculator, we're gonna get 2 things. We got a hip rafter with tail and hip rafter without the tail. Without the tail will be to our crow's foot. Okay, so on our calculator, we're gonna use 4 foot as our run, just for our project. It's half the span, a 7-inch pitch, and then our hip valley. 6'1" and 7/16. Measuring down. 6'1", 7/16. Right like that. Okay. This point is the outside corner of your project. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to square across. Okay. And then we're going to plumb down just like we did for the top. We got a hip valley. Then our HAP, our height above plate, for everyone is 2 3/4 of an inch. We got right there. I'm going to square that across. Try to be as accurate as you can on this one. It makes a big difference on that. Okay? Let me pause that. All right. So for a hip rafter, you can do one of 2 things. You can bevel it or chamfer it on the corner, or you drop a hip. You have to drop a hip or bevel it so that it's out of the way of the plane of the plywood. Okay? So in this case, I'll show you how much to drop it. On a hip rafter, how long is the unit run for a 7-inch rise?
12 inches.
No,
17 inches.
17. So I'm going to do 17 right here. 7-inch. 17. Well, I can actually do it right there, which is what that should be. So 17, draw a line. Okay. Then I'm going to measure across half my thickness of my hip. So coming across, I'm going to mark 3/4 right there. And that distance from this edge to this edge square is how much you drop it. So in this case, I'm going to drop it 1/4 inch, 5/16. Okay. In order to drop it, here's my hip. Do I measure up or do I measure down?
Measure up.
You measure up.
Yeah.
Drop it. So almost 5/16. And I like to mark both to make sure that I did it. So this one, this is where I'm going to cut. This was my height above plate. Okay. Okay. Now that takes care of this. So I just dropped my hip. Now I got to work on the tail on the end. Okay. For the tail, I'm going to have a different measurement. So my run is 4 foot. And my overhang is how much? 12 inches?
12 inches.
Okay, so we're gonna use a 5-foot run, 7-inch, whoops. 5-foot run, 7-inch pitch. Now a hip valley, okay? 7 foot, 7 and 13/16. And I'll measure right on the end. 7 foot, 7 and 13/16. 13/16, right there. Can you hold that, Rodolfo? All right. I need the center of my board on this one. Center. I'm gonna mark 3/4. So let's go over here for a second. I'll show you what it should look like. Here's the skip markup. Down here on the end, as the fascia comes around, I'm gonna have a little point on this end. Similar to what's there, okay? Except for it's gonna be pointing back towards the ridge. The plumb is still gonna be plumb going the same direction. A couple other things is this board right here also needs to look like a 2x4 to match the tails of the commons. Okay? So let's go back over here. We mark the center. So I'm going to 45 back towards the ridge. Right like that. Rolling it on an edge. And this mark is to the outside of the fascia. So we have 7-inch pitch on the hip valley. Right like that. Couple things. I might as well just go ahead and mark it so it looks like a 2x4. Okay. Then I got to shorten, come back towards the ridge, the thickness of my fascia. So on here, our fascia is 5/8 of an inch. Hip valley, 7-inch. I'm gonna roll it back up. 45. Okay. Come back on this side, parallel with my marks at the top. 7-inch pitch. Come over 5/8 thickness of our fascia. If your fascia is thicker, then that'd be thicker as well. 7. And back up to the top. Okay, cutting this, measuring from, that's our theoretical. Same thing, know where you're cutting, know where you're measuring. Okay, any questions on this? Okay, there's another method. So here, using the Construction Master Calculator, we just measured out to the bird's mouth, right? Another method that you can do is called a step-off method. Is from your theoretical, okay? You're gonna have to be using a 17 and a 7, and then you're gonna be stepping it off like this 4 times because the run's 4. Make sense? What you can also do is look on your framing square. Right here it says difference in length of jacks, difference in lengths, hip or valley. So coming over at 7, let's see, make sure I'm on the right one. 18.5. Nope, wrong one. 18.36. Okay, so you can also check that. 17-inch run, 7-inch rise, press the diagonal, 18 3/8. That's 18 3/8 inches. So what I can do with that, if I didn't have a Construction Master Calculator, just looking at that 18 3/8 on your side of your framing square, I can measure 18 3/8, 18 3/8, 18 3/8. Since I have 4 feet as my run, there's 4 times this. Should be 18 3/8. Does that make sense? So that's 3 different ways of laying out for your hip. Same thing will apply for your commons, your jacks, using the rafter table and they're all theoreticals for on your framing square.